Hello, and welcome to another edition of In Touch Safety, the workplace health and safety webinar series presented by Encompass Michigan, a statewide network of comprehensive human service providers working together to develop independence and achieve inclusive communities. Our topic today is workplace safety when your home is your office. My name is Todd Culver. I'm the president and CEO of Encompass Michigan, and I'll be your presenter today. In Touch Safety is a training project in partnership with MIOSHA's SET division, and this material was prepared under a Consultation Education and Training grant awarded by the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Encompass Michigan has a long-standing partnership with MIOSHA, and we're grateful for their support for this and the other trainings developed as a part of In Touch Safety. As a preface to our session today, it's important to note that unlike some training developed through In Touch Safety, this information does not directly relate to a MIOSHA standard. However, federal OSHA has issued instructions and guidance on this topic, and given the emerging prevalence of work from home arrangements, this brief training was developed in support of assuring the health and safety of those employees who are performing their job duties for pay while in their home office. As we've discussed in other segments of In Touch Safety, a safe workplace is really sound business. And federal OSHA has developed recommended practices for safety and health programs that present a step-by-step approach to implementation that are built around specific core elements. At a higher level, the main goal of these safety and health programs is to prevent workplace injuries, as well as illnesses and even deaths. Including financial hardship and other resulting suffering that these events can cause, not just for workers, but for their families and their employers. But a safe home office is also sound business, and these principles apply to employees who work from home. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we work, how businesses operate, and our work-life balance, especially when working from home. Remote work, working from home, or telecommuting has become relatively commonplace and will likely remain a workforce constant moving forward. For some perspective on that, according to the Pew Research Center in 2022, roughly 6 in 10 U.S. workers who say their jobs can mainly be done from home are working from home all or most of the time. The vast majority of these workers, 83%, say they were working from home even before the Omicron variant started to spread in the United States. Now, this marks a decline from October of 2020 at a different stage of the pandemic, when 71% of those with jobs that could be done from home were working from home all or most of the time. But it's still much higher than the 23% who say they teleworked frequently before the coronavirus outbreak. A safe home office matters. As with all issues of occupational safety and health, the most rigorous preventive program takes the view that there is always something about an incident leading to injury that could have been different. Accidents don't just happen, not at work and not at home. It is incumbent upon us, therefore, to continuously assess the landscape, to identify the potential for a problem, and fix it before one occurs. That's what this presentation is all about, extending that framework for effective programs that promote prevention to the home office. A few definitions as we begin. Home-based work site, according to federal OSHA, means the areas of an employee's personal residence where the employee performs work of the employer. And home office means office work activities in a home-based work site. Examples include filing, keyboarding, computer research, reading and writing. And such activities may include the use of office equipment, such as a telephone, fax machine, computer, desk, and a file cabinet. A little bit of additional background. The Department of Labor has actually indicated support for telecommuting and telework using the following language: family-friendly, flexible, and fair work arrangements, including telecommuting, can benefit individual employees and their families, employers, and society as a whole. Within the Department of Labor, the purpose of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, under the authority of the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, is to assure, so far as possible, every working man and woman in the nation safe and healthful working conditions. The act applies to a private employer who has any employees doing work in a workplace in the United States. It requires these employers to provide employment and a place of employment that are free from recognized serious hazards and to comply with OSHA standards and regulations. That phrase, free from recognized hazards, is key to the general duty clause or general duty responsibilities that have been created by OSHA for every employer to furnish to each of their employees employment and a place of employment which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or are likely to cause death or serious physical harm to employees. That duty applies regardless of the location where your employees are working. It is important to now acknowledge, however, for home office situations where the employee performs activities such as filing, computer research, reading and writing, employers should be aware of OSHA guidance stating that it will not conduct inspections of employees' home offices. It will not hold employers liable for employees' home offices, and it does not expect employers to inspect an employee's home office. Having said that, it is also important to acknowledge that it is our responsibility to support the establishment and maintenance of a hazard-free working environment at home when employers have a remote work policy or enter into a work-from-home agreement with employees. Employers, for example, can promote awareness of primary hazard categories such as ergonomics, slip, trip, fall hazards, electrical or fire hazards, and we can provide resources to document safe conditions and information to address issues that arise. And we'll talk a little bit more about those things in a moment. In terms of policy, a little bit more background on policy and requirements. Employers are responsible in home work sites for hazards caused by materials, equipment, or work processes which the employer provides or requires to be used in an employee's home under a work-from-home arrangement. Employers who are required because of their size or industry classification by the OSHA Act to keep records of work-related injuries and illnesses, and that applies to most employers, will continue to be responsible for keeping such records, regardless of whether the injuries occur in the factory, in a home office, or elsewhere, as long as they are work-related and meet the recordability criteria of the record-keeping standard. Specifically related to record keeping, for purposes of clarity, employers are not required to maintain an OSHA log for each home. Concerning employees not in fixed establishments, and this is OSHA guidance, employers of employees engaged in physically dispersed operations may satisfy the provisions of the record-keeping standard with respect to those employees by maintaining the required records for each operation or group of operations that's subject to common supervision, but keeping those records in an established central place. Injuries and illnesses that occur to employees working at a home location are recordable on the employer's OSHA log if they are work-related and meet the criteria for an OSHA recordable injury or illness under the standard. Injuries and illnesses that result from an event or exposure off the employer's premises are work-related if the worker was engaged in work-related activities or was present as a condition of his or her employment. Moving on from policy and requirements, however, to some resources that support recommended best practices. What we can do as an employer is provide assistance and guidance to employees regarding the setup of the home work site. Examples of this at a home office could include, given the very specific and sometimes unique nature of those home office environments, considering developing your own YouTube video, or perhaps even just a written handout giving instructions pertaining to the setting up of equipment in an ergonomic fashion with considerations for electrical setup, limiting the number of electrical devices that are plugged into an outlet, for example. We can, as employers, establish a hotline or simply a direct point of contact for communication for remote employees to call if in need of assistance in the area of health and safety, and also to develop a checklist that address safety and efficiency and productivity issues, and have employees complete this checklist every 6 months or so. In addition, training is always important. We can train employees on a recurring basis, annually as an example, to regarding remote employees' obligations to report alleged work injuries or illnesses and how to report those incidents. And specifically from leadership and administration to take measures to help ensure proper insurance coverage for work-related injuries and illnesses, property loss, or other liability coverage. Especially important to speak with workers' compensation coverage providers to discuss these matters when work from home arrangements have been negotiated. So a few tips in some common areas that we briefly referenced. The first is ergonomics, and these are guidelines that were developed by the Mayo Clinic. In plain language, to choose the right space, and the ideal workspace would have adequate lighting that helps to avoid eye strain, the appropriate work surface, such as a desk or table, and be set apart from busy areas in the home to allow for optimal focus, but also optimal safety. Encourage employees to get up and move. This reduces muscle soreness and pain. Being in a static position can lead to strain, and so try to change posture frequently, and that involves either sitting or standing, avoiding doing either for extended periods of time. And check your posture, making sure that shoulders don't curve inward or forward, head doesn't bend, especially so far down that ears are at shoulder level. There's a variety of tips that we can deploy for keeping ourselves from slouching. With regard to computer work, keeping an eye on your monitor when setting up a computer screen. Ideal height is usually making sure the top of the monitor is at eye level. This can help avoid both neck and eye strain. And if using a laptop, it can be helpful to plug in a wireless keyboard and mouse and prop the laptop up on some books or other safe, sturdy mechanism to elevate the laptop unit so that the top of the screen is level with the employee's eyes. And to choose the right chair when seated in terms of position, making sure that knees are not higher than hips. This can avoid lower back pain and reduce the pressure on your spine while seated. Other features of chair safety, in addition to lower back support for comfort, but making sure that it's sturdy and stable to protect the employee's safety. Tips for slips, trips, and falls include clearing the floor of any obstacles. This can include household items like toys or boxes. It can include work supplies, books, or even any loose or dangling cords. Repair any loose carpeting, secure lifted corners on rugs, which are commonplace trip hazards, both at home and at work. And to watch your step. Stairs are another place where slips, trips, and falls can occur. If your workspace requires you to go up or down flights of stairs, be careful not to carry too many items in your hands while doing so, and one hand should be free at all times to hold on to the railing. Tips for fire and electrical safety. These are combined here. The most obvious being inspection of cords. Electrical and extension cords should be in good working condition. Make sure they are not frayed, that prongs are not bent or damaged, and that your outlets are not overloaded with too much power. Any cord that feels hot or giving off excessive amounts of heat should immediately be unplugged. And with general fire safety, a working smoke detector, a functioning fire extinguisher, and an evacuation plan in the event of a fire will help employees stay safe. We can support these basic tips with workplace checklists. These are some very brief examples in the general safety category. The workspace being away from noise and distractions, that the workspace accommodates a dedicated station, that floor and walking surfaces are clear and free from hazards. File drawers not top heavy. Phone lines or cords secured under a desk, not only away from heat sources, but avoiding trip and fall hazards. Adequacy of both, of temperature, ventilation, and lighting. That all stairs with 4 or more steps are equipped with handrails, and we remember to keep a hand free to use that railing. And again, the carpets are secured to the floor, and the same true of curled up edges for any rugs. Fire safety, checking for that smoke detector, that multi-use fire extinguisher, clear and unobstructed walkways and doorways, that the workplace is kept free of trash, clutter, and other flammable liquids, just like in the main workplace, that radiators and portable heaters are located away from flammable items, and that there is an evacuation plan that's known where to go and what to do in the event of a fire. On the electrical side, that sufficient outlets are available, that computer equipment is connected to a surge protector, that the electrical system overall is adequate for the office equipment that's been introduced into the home, that all plugs, cords, outlets, and panels are in good condition, that the equipment is placed close to electrical outlets, that there's not an over-reliance on an extension cord, and that they're, if in temporary use, that they are not daisy chained together, and that they are not used on a permanent basis. And always a good idea to turn off equipment when not in use. And lastly, with ergonomics, for the chair features, that it's adjustable to allow for proper height, that legs, or if it's mobile, casters or wheels are secure, and a sturdy surface is provided, back is adequately supported, feet on the floor, sufficient leg room, light for reading, a computer screen that's free from glare, which can create eye strain, and again, that location with the top of the screen at eye level, and space to rest our arms when not keying. In summary, a remote workforce comes with several potential challenges: maintaining collaboration, social interactions, and managing distractions. For employers, it's important, however, to keep the challenge of reducing risk and providing a safe working environment as a priority, even when employees are not physically on site. Remote work has made it more difficult for employers to assess employee workstation needs to mitigate risk and injuries, but we can provide remote employees with safety checklists and other resources to help them assess risks and implement necessary safety measures to control and reduce injuries outside the main workplace. There is value in creating a safety plan that's focused on remote employees, as many risk factors in an office space can carry over to an employee's home space. But the responsibility also falls on employees to make sure that once these tools and resources are developed, that they are assessing their current workspaces and following proper safety procedures to reduce the risk of injury or illness while working remotely. And that's the bottom line. It is a collective and shared responsibility. We're sometimes navigating new workplace dynamics in this virtual world, but together we can maintain a safe and healthy environment, including in home office locations. Thank you for spending a few moments with us today. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Encompass Michigan remains committed to being a trusted resource for getting connected and staying informed, including on issues of workplace health and safety. If you have questions or requests for additional information on any of the content that's been shared today, please don't hesitate to follow up with us. And we close once again in gratitude for our partnership with MIOSHA's Consultation Education and Training Division and their support through this SET grant. Thanks again, everybody, and take care.